Number 10. Foxy vs. Roxy. When Roxanne was introduced as being one of the main animatronics in Security Breach, people wondered if she was actually there to replace a previous fan favorite. Because of this, initially people seemed to be wary of her and disappointed that Foxy was not present among the band, but she was, having seemingly taken his spot. Some have theorized that Foxy was decommissioned as pirates were no longer as popular as they once were. It has also been speculated that Foxy is being remodeled and will return later on, perhaps in the Security Breach DLC, and then of course some have literally speculated that Foxy's parts were used to make Roxy, and that Roxanne Wolf is a reinvention of everyone's favorite pirate-themed fox. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving what we do here at Top 10 Gaming, please go check out our newest channel, Most Amazing Top 10 Anime. Seriously, hitting that subscribe button really helps us out here, even at this channel. Number 9. Eyes glow red. While Roxy's eyes are typically amber, the same color that Glamrock Freddy's eyes turn after he himself is given Roxy's eyes, they have been known to change color before in the game. Like the other animatronics, there seems to be some kind of implication that there is a virus infecting these animatronics which can override them. And perhaps a sign of this is that their eyes change to red. The fact that sometimes their eyes glow red could be an indicator that they are not completely in control of themselves, that something is either altering their protocols, turning them chaotic, or even controlling them from afar. Likely the person behind this manipulation is Vanny or William Afton. Vanny herself also has red eyes, which is interesting to reflect upon. Perhaps it is indeed Vanny who is pulling the animatronic strings when they too have eyes that seem to glow red. Number 8. Claws. While Montgomery Gator is the one known for his claws in-game, Roxanne Wolf also sports a pretty mean pair of claws. After becoming shattered, her claws only seem more gruesome as well. While some would see these as simply nails, speaking as someone who, I have nails, I would say that these are a lot more intense in comparison. Roxy also has her nails, or claws rather, painted green, which becomes more apparent after she is shattered, when they become more claw-like, to be honest.
And it's 7 stupid answers. Okay, look, I get the idea that stupid questions get stupid answers, but honestly, for being this advanced of an AI, this guy is dumb as hell. Oh, what was that? Oh, that's a fountain. Really? No shit, Sherlock, of course it's a fountain. What are you on about? Okay, I get that you can't see Vanny, but given the CRT effects that we get when she's around, assuming that we are human, there is no way that you can't even feel that something was different there, okay? My question is, why are you unable to see her? But you can then see her when you get Roxy's eyes? That seems so stupid to me. Like, why would you block every animatronic but Roxy from seeing you? And if you didn't block every animatronic and only blocked Freddy, why? What would have been the point of that? The whole point of this is that nobody is suspicious of Freddy actually being the guy who's helping Gregory, okay? Even after Vanessa leaves Freddy with his head removed in the parts and service room, and then like 5 minutes later he can walk in front of her without her even batting an eye. So why would they make him unable to see Vanny? It's like whatever stupid blind spot they made or not, okay? Dude answers multiple questions with stupid answers that don't help anyone, alright? It's annoying. He could have done so much more. And at 6, power. What is the deal with this guy and actually needing to recharge like every 5 minutes? Okay, in like the game sense, time isn't really moving when I'm running around for 5 hours since I haven't actually progressed the story. So if this animatronic is supposed to need to recharge every hour only, why is this such a big issue? And why does he only use power when we're actually inside of him like a mech, okay? Like, if this was the case, shouldn't this man be losing power when we summon him to like grab us down in the 3rd basement floor? And why does he need to recharge but seemingly all the other animatronics don't? Okay, I never see Chica, Roxy, or Monty in a recharge station. Even if you're around where they should be around, or like where they should be in a recharge station when the hour hits, okay? It's stupid, it's confusing, and it doesn't make any sense. It's almost like Freddy is doing this to us on purpose, either because he thinks it's funny, or maybe he really is working for Vanny but needs to gain our trust and makes excuses for why he can't be around us all the time so then he can go and sneak off and tell Vanny what's going on. Or why we can't just like hide inside of him all night, okay? There's something fishy going on with this animatronic, and I swear in the next game we're gonna find out that he ended up betraying us and ripping us to shreds off screen. Halfway through into number 5, doesn't kick us out. Okay, when you think that your friend is supposed to protect you, having them suddenly rip you out of their chest and kill you is certainly a surprise. And while you may be thinking something like, well, that's your own damn fault for running out of power, you know what? I would normally agree with you on that, okay? But when this game establishes right off the bat that if Freddy runs out of power he will kick you out, when he doesn't in the future, it's pretty goddamn stupid. Like, whatever, okay, yeah, I shouldn't have let him run out of power, but let me tell you a story. I was playing through Security Breach and I ended up getting stuck inside of Freddy. This was my first time playing, and like I had gotten into a recharge station, and when I came out I was unable to exit the animatronic. So after being kicked out the first time that Freddy ran out of power, and like because the story forced us to, right before you learn how to distract Chica by knocking over the paint cans, I figured that the way to get out of him when I was stuck would just be to wait and let him run out of power, so that I wouldn't have to lose progress since I hadn't gotten the chance to save in a while, because that's just how the game was set up. So I waited, and I waited, and then when he ran out of power, I died, resetting me to my last save point. So all I did at that point was waste time, all because this game had established that if you ran out of power he would kick you out and run to a recharge station. That's why I'm deciding to use that last little bit of power to open up his stomach, tear us out, and then rip us a new one is one of the worst things that Freddy has or could have done. Okay, it's like the death coin in FNAF. If you establish something, you keep it the same way, God. In it for Monty's claws. Monty's whole personality is destroying things, okay? He likes to do it and is capable of doing it because of the claws that they installed onto his character so that he could pluck the strings of the bass guitar. I guess animatronics don't like using guitar picks for some reason. Either way, when Freddy gets these claws, he's also able to start destroying things and breaking open barriers, which is just kinda weird when you think about it. Like, was Monty this way before getting the claws? Because if he was, he couldn't really do much damage, since we needed the claws to even be able to smash through small fence gates. So if he already was like that, why would they have given him the death machines for hands? Or wasn't that like the hands gave him the ability to smash things, which turned into him smashing everything he could? I mean, it's definitely possible, okay? We've seen Weirder come out of the FNAF series, and if that was the way that this played out, would it also happen for Freddy? Like, is Freddy going to see how much he likes smashing stuff and then just go absolutely bananas? I think it could happen, and even if it doesn't, the fact that Freddy has these destructive capabilities and then just doesn't punch out the other animatronics during the final boss fight, friends or not, especially when Afton isn't trying to take control of him, like when Roxy comes in and you have to crawl inside and then scream. Yeah, why didn't he just punch her out then? Okay, that's messed up. He could have done so much more, but he just chose not to.
Number 3, green hairpiece. Something that I found very striking about Roxy's appearance, which all in all is quite colorful, is her dyed hairpiece. Now for the most part, Roxanne's hair is white or silver if you prefer, and sometimes it kind of looks as though there might be a little bit of purple mixed in there, but she also has green, bright green bangs, which match her green keytar. But that isn't all her hair matches, it also matches the color of another brand new animatronic added into this world, Montgomery. And it got me to wondering if perhaps they could be connected in some way, considering that the green of Roxanne's hair seems to almost perfectly match the color of Monty himself. Monty also has a red streak which matches Roxanne's outfit pretty perfectly. Both are also similar in the sense that they're often referred to by shortened versions of their name. Roxanne Wolf is referred to as Roxy and Montgomery Gator is referred to as Monty. Is this because they are both just similar in terms of when they were both introduced in this world, or is it possible that there is something else that they share together and that connects them? Number 2, Grey Wolf. When it comes to what kind of wolf Roxy might actually be modeled after, it's an interesting thing to reflect on. I would say based on her coloring and the patterning on her face, which some seem to think is meant to be whiskers, that she is modeled after a gray wolf, or possibly even somewhat modeled after a gray fox, despite that not being her name and her not really being a fox. But at the same time, there are definitely similarities in her look and Foxy's look, so, you know, we should still keep that in mind. This is because of her coloring and the pattern on her fur, which I think is meant to be a sort of patterned color fur as opposed to drawn on whiskers. Wolves tend to use body language to communicate with one another and use this type of communication to display their place or ranking in the pack's hierarchy. Roxanne's gray coloring as opposed to the original Foxy's red coloring is primarily what made me think that she might be modeled after the gray wolf. Also, she does like to kind of posture a lot, doesn't she? She likes to be like, I'm the best. So maybe this is also her wolf side coming out and she's trying to set herself up as kind of the alpha of the pack. Number 1, self-esteem. While on the surface, Roxy might seem shallow and self-centered to some, as we get to know her more, we learn that she is likely struggling with her own self-worth, which is the reason she comes across as so shallow. Roxanne Wolf initially is seen in her dressing room giving herself a pep talk, where she continuously refers to herself as the best glam rock. However, when her appearance is tarnished by Gregory's attack, where he steals her eyes, she seems to be shattered in more ways than one, not just physically, but also emotionally, crying uncontrollably as she worries that no one will ever love her again, and repeatedly asking for validation that she is still beautiful. This is a sad thing to see, and reminds us that although Roxy might seem self-obsessed, she is in reality likely very insecure, and it is her insecurity that has led to her focusing so heavily on being the best and most beautiful glam rock, because she desperately seeks approval and validation from others that she cannot find within herself.
In at 10, Devin. The story, The New Kid from 1:35 a.m., the third Fazbear Frights book, revolves around Devin, Mick, and Kelsey. Devin and Mick are outcasts from their class, and they aren't really popular. You know, they aren't cool. But when the new kid Kelsey arrives, they try to make a new friend, despite Kelsey being incredibly charismatic and adored by everyone in the school. Over time, Devin grows jealous of Kelsey since, you know, he has everything that he wants. So in an act of revenge or in an effort to gain control, Devin hatches a plan to lure him to an abandoned Freddy Fazbear's and trap him in a spring-locked suit for a couple hours. To try and maybe like humble him, I guess. I don't know what the plan was here, but the plan, whatever it ended up being, goes incredibly wrong. After getting in the spring-locked suit, it fails, as expected, because you know it's a FNAF book, causing blood to soak into the fur of the animatronic, and you know what happens when a spring lock fails. So yeah. Devin and Mick leave Kelsey for dead so they won't get in trouble, but something doesn't feel right. So a week later, Devin returns to the scene of the crime like the idiot that he is, sticks his hand in the animatronic's mouth to try to find a body, and snap. The spring locks fail yet again because for some reason someone reset them, and as per usual, Devin gets his hand stuck inside the machine and bleeds out, but not before seeing black hair in the suit. Instead of blonde hair. Would you want to be spring locked? Hopefully you said no, but whatever you answered, the opposite will happen unless you like this video, okay? You got 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3. Thank you. See, there you go. Now you will either be spared or not, depending on your life choices and probably previous trauma. Let's keep going. In at 9, you. Spoiler alert for a fan game, but if I say which fan game, it will spoil it. So if you want to avoid spoilers, skip to the next number, okay? I'll give you a chance to do that. Alright, now that you've prepared for the spoilers, A Shadow Over Freddy's is a FNAF fan game created by Fiznom on Game Jolt. It was released on the 25th of April 2018, and it was made by the same guy who's currently working on FNAF Plus, so you know it's going to be good. The gameplay of A Shadow Over Freddy's is a hybrid between a traditional point and click and a free-roaming horror game, so you click and it's flat. The player ends up waking up to find themselves with no memories and a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and is tasked with surviving the 5 nights. The player is given different tasks and then you have to complete them before 6 a.m. and then getting out of the establishment. However, the ending of the game has you getting trapped in a spring-lock suit and being left to rot, meaning that you're a spring-lock victim, and I don't like that, so yeah, number 9. In at 8, Burn Trap. Well, yes, technically, Burn Trap themselves isn't a spring-lock victim, it's the most recent form of our main antagonist, and you know what, I want to hate on him real quick. Like, what is this man's problem? What is with this full-on Harvey Dent knockoff and is somehow still living ass and trying to take control of Freddy, okay? Like, what does that even do for him? Sure, he can use Freddy to get to us, but this man is also just at the end of the hall, okay? He can just crawl through the vent like Monty does, and then you'd be able to get to us. Even if we, like, close the vent, we can't have it closed forever. That's why there's a power bar next to it. So why couldn't you just wait it out and then tear Gregory to shreds yourself, you pansy? Come on, stop having your minions do everything for you. Where's the William Afton that everyone was scared of, huh? Like that little spring locking made you that much of a little bitch? Like, come on, dude. Hey, you're a grown man, and I'm the size of a 4-year-old. Why are you so scared? Because of the robot that's running on low power after glitching out? He should be on bed rest, not trying to help a kid, okay? He can't even take on multiple staff bots. Have your minions take Freddy and then deal with me yourself, okay? You say you always come back, but apparently every time you do, it's as just that little bit more of a pussy, okay? Burn Trap, more like just burn.
Number 7, Blind. After After losing her eyes, having them taken by Gregory, Roxanne basically becomes straight up blind. At least that's what the game would have you think. While certain tools used to discombobulate the animatronics, such as the Phaser Blaster and Phazcam, no longer work on her and she can't sense you from a distance, getting up close, she still seems to be able to tell kind of where you are. She's not completely blind, as she probably has some kind of like radar sight or sensor sight that she can rely on, and that still works at least at close range. After all, the fact that animatronics even use their eyes to see seems very strange in terms of modern technology that we have today. Most robotic creations in the modern world actually rely on like GPS and sensors to kind of tell where they are and where they're going, not cameras wired to their motherboard that are basically like ocular parts. It's a little weird. Number 7. Makeup. Something else that Roxy has that I think is very interesting, considering we haven't really seen this used on animatronics in the same way really ever, is makeup. While clown makeup has been used and lipstick has been given to some animatronics in the past, which has actually caused great debates about their genders, this is the first time we've really seen makeup used to glamify animatronics. Both Roxy and Chica wear makeup, or really they're both designed to look like they are wearing makeup. I doubt they put makeup on each night when there's a show and like wash it off after to clean their skin. I mean, they don't really have skin. I don't think they'd really need to clean it. But this is the first time glamour-based makeup looks have been part of the designs. I know some people are probably going to be like, what about Ballora? But I still feel like Ballora is a little bit more like clownish still than glam. It should be noted that Glamrock Freddy also seemingly is wearing makeup, but instead that it is more akin to like face paint glam rock look, similar to that of Spaceman or Star Child of the band Kiss or David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust. If you don't know who those people are, go check it out. Number 5. Punk rock. One of the coolest things I think about Roxanne is her style. She takes after a certain kind of rock style known as punk rock with her appearance. It's also still a little bit glam rock, but it's also very punk rock. Perhaps this is a reason too that she is more concerned with her overall aesthetic. While punk rockers had a DIY approach to their own management and promotion and were known for upbeat melodies and politically charged lyrics, they were also extremely well known for their style and their look. In fact, in the punk rock music scene, style actually became so important that it actually influenced fans and created a whole subculture just based around the core beliefs of punk rock as put on display and promoted through fashion. Influencing fans on a global scale, piercings, spikes, and more risque or avant-garde clothing were all part of the punk rock style. Often the clothes punk rockers wear are used to push and challenge boundaries while resembling a rejection of the mainstream in terms of their style. Which is also just like an interesting insight potentially into how that could inform who Roxanne is as a character. Number 4. Small panels. Something else that's really interesting to me when it comes to Roxanne's design is that she seems to be covered in small panels. What are these panels for? Why do they exist? What purpose do they serve? Well, the interesting thing is that Roxanne actually isn't alone when it comes to her design of being covered in small panels. Glamrock Freddy and Glamrock Chica, as well as Monty, all have these panels too, although some of them differ slightly in size and perhaps a little bit in placement as well, which makes their purpose even more curious to me. I would assume these are access panels, but perhaps as each animatronic has their own, unique build, especially when it comes to outer paneling, the size and shape of these panels is a little bit different. It could also be possible that the circuitry within them also differs depending on their physical appearance. What do you think these small panels are used for? Are they just housing? Are they something else?
Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Garvey. A psychopathic, cold-blooded killer. He stopped being human long ago. That's how Garvey is described in the extras for Domitibus, okay? The game from which he is the penultimate antagonist of. As a human, he was the man who killed the missing children and then later went on to get trapped in Spring Bonnie, becoming Springtrap, and then was burned to a permanent death in the Fazbear Frights fire, which is where the two timelines start to separate. Garvey is a more gory version of Springtrap from FNAF 3, obviously. However, it's not actually William Afton, since the game was released before the name reveal and even before FNAF 4. Springtrap, but with hardly any exosuit or animatronic casing, whatever you want to freaking call it. He crawls on all fours and uses his left hand as a foot and his left foot as a hand, like some demon spider monkey from the deepest pits of hell that Satan didn't sanction the creation of. Like, Jesus Christ, I don't understand how this thing wants to operate, but honestly, I don't want to know, okay? This creation is a monstrosity that haunts my nightmares, and haunting my nightmares even more so than all my actual real world trauma combined. So I don't know, okay? Maybe Garvey's just there more because it's just like at this point my mental health has gotten to the point where he's basically a visual representation of my damage. But either way, it's terrifying. But ultimately, in at number 2, Springtrap. I'm pretty sure we all know this story by now. There we go. Finally, I'm kidding. Everything was going well at first, okay? They couldn't pin him down, he was on his way to immortality, but once William Afton discovered Remnant, he spiraled. He wanted to use it to fuel his life and make himself truly immortal, so in an effort to study it further, William lures the possessed animatronics to a back room so that he can access and dismantle them, and then using their endoskeletons to melt them down and make some soul-infused metal BS. However, by doing this, he releases the souls of his own victims, and you know, he gets reasonably scared, so he crawls inside of his spring bodysuit, trying to make himself feel more powerful, and then he gets killed. And yeah, and then he's in agony for 30 years, and that's, you know what, he deserved it. He deserved it. I mean, he doesn't die from it, but he definitely deserved to be in pain. And you know what, that makes him deserving of the number 2 slot, alright? And finally, in at number 1, The Twisted Ones. The Twisted Ones novel starts a year after The Silver Eyes ended with Charlie in university. However, one day, Clay Burke comes to see Charlie and for some reason brings her to see a corpse with familiar wounds. This could be either because she would recognize them, or because she was working with the police, or because they just had to advance the plot. I don't know. I haven't read the original novels, and at this point I don't really want to. However, looking at the wounds, she can confirm that they are in fact from a spring-lock failure, despite some not having any actual experience with forensics. But that means that we do have an unnamed springlock victim in the Twisted Ones novel. And if this character does have a name, please let me know in the comments because I can't find one online. However, I also had to kind of rush to get this list, so maybe I didn't look enough. Who knows? It might have been William, it might not have been, I don't know. And there was also fake blood, and they realized that Afton faked everything so that he couldn't be caught as a serial killer. I don't know, okay? It's stupid. William needs to die. Stop bringing him back. This is like a show like Criminal Minds, bringing a serial killer back after giving him a lethal injection for the 4th time. Okay, I don't get it. Stop doing it. And at 10, Turns on Us. The reason this is going to be our number 10 slot is because, well, technically it isn't Freddy that's turning on us. Technically speaking, it's William Afton taking control of Freddy's body and making him turn on us. So yeah, it's kind of up in the air. During the final boss fight, Freddy can be hacked by Burn Trap, and when this is going on, he'll stand in the middle of the room as a hazard and just start like jibbing out. If Burn Trap ends up successfully hacking him, meaning that you don't burn him before a timer runs out, Glamrock Freddy will chase after and kill Gregory, either by just like running at you or by pulling him out of his stomach if, you know, you're inside of Freddy when he's getting tortured, which is weird. That's a whole other issue. Gregory can still lure Freddy out of the way when he is being taken over, though, by calling him over to a different spot, hitting the right button, whatever version you're on. But I mean, like, come on, okay? Like, how is it that Freddy can't resist this at this point? Like, yeah, sure, it's Afton directly tapping into you, but he's also using a computer as a proxy. So it's basically the same thing as the original Glitch Trap virus that he ended up stopping somehow in the opening credits, okay? I don't know how this was supposed to make sense in universe, but either way, it's stupid, and Glamrock Freddy should be ashamed that this could have happened, even if canonically it didn't. But I still do think that Freddy is evil, okay? Check up in the top right corner, whichever one that ends up being, for the video explaining why, because yeah, it's a long one, if I remember. And at 9, copyright infringement. Okay, technically I don't think that this is actually copyright infringement, and it's more so a reference to a well-known figure, but it's definitely something that needs to be mentioned. At this point, I think everyone knows about the Glamrock Freddy pose that's meant to be a reference to Freddie Mercury, right? Yeah, I feel like it's a thing. The one from the introduction, and I think it was also maybe in the trailers. Well, I'm gonna use this number to be like a YouTube comment section and say that he's stealing it rather than making a reference. Because whenever I say something as a reference to someone else, even subtly, so that only those who actually watch those other YouTubers would understand, people say that I'm trying to steal their thing, or that I'm taking it. Like, dude, bro, it's a reference, it's an homage, okay? Of course me saying that it's just a theory, a game theory is meant to be MatPat, okay? It's not me trying to steal it. Obviously, everyone knows where it comes from. You come here in between MatPat theories on FNAF, okay? Like, the same thing happens when I'm calling Chica Mommy, or doing the Eddie VR whistle, okay? That was terrible. It's a reference, okay? But everyone in the comments every time says that I'm stealing it. So I'm going to apply that logic to Freddy and say that he's stealing this pose, okay? Now watch all those same commenters that were attacking me come to defend Freddy now, okay? I'm gonna, you know what? I said defriend, leave it in too, okay? I don't care. And it carries us. While yes, ripping us out of your stomach and tearing us to shreds with that last bit of power you have left is stupid, putting us in that chamber in the first place was a pretty goddamn stupid idea, and it was just probably just at least equally as stupid. I mean, like, he even said it himself that it was a bad idea, but even after saying that, he lets us crawl inside anyway. And there were so many other options. Okay, I'll discuss the biggest issue later on, but seriously, why did he think that this would result in anything other than our death? It's a miracle that it didn't, honestly, especially when we're inside his stomach while he's getting recharged. This dude needs so much power that to fix him we need to juice him with a damn car battery, but we're just sitting inside him while he's getting all that power back from a station inside of him, where the wires and robotic parts are. How did we not get electrocuted? Okay? Like, yeah, we deal with a lot of dangerous things throughout this game, but running around inside Freddy is supposed to be the safe space according to the game. But looking at it logically, it might even have been the worst idea of all. And it's 7 Fred Trap. Fred Trap is exactly what you'd expect. It's Springtrap on a yellow Freddy animatronic, okay? The designs are actually scarier than normal Springtrap to me, and I guess maybe it's because bears are scarier than bunnies in general. I think that Scott made William use the spring Bonnie suit because of how Scott himself was scared of Bonnie, but that's just idle speculation. I also think that originally William was planning on using the Fredbear suit, hence its superpowered jaw, but after a crying child bit the dust, pun intended, he decided to use the Bonnie suit instead, since, you know, thanks to Elizabeth, he knew that crying child might be possessing Fredbear. But he wasn't, okay, and that's also idle speculation, but anyways, it's speculation from a DM who tells stories and knows how to story build, so maybe I'm onto something here. But anyway, there are still more rundown versions of also scrap versions of Fred Trap, which are already terrifying. And at 6, William Afton again. I say again, even though technically Burn Trap was on the list already, but also some may not consider that the same thing. But what I mean is, in the context of this number, it makes sense, okay? Could William have suffered a spring lock failure before getting trapped in the spring Bonnie suits like we see in FNAF 3? You know what? It's possible. And it explains why I said again. It certainly appears that way in the FNAF novels, because William is described as having scars that are consistent with the springlock failure before becoming Springtrap in the books. So, could it have happened in the games? I doubt it. The reason we think it could be possible is because we hear of an incident at a sister location that has multiple and simultaneous springlock failures, so maybe that could have been William, okay? There are plenty of people that it could have been, but William having to deal with it would definitely get them put out of commission, at least for a time. But then, considering how he kept using the suit afterwards, I doubt it, because, you know, trauma, but again, he's a psychopath, so. Halfway through into number 5, Grim Chica. The first Springlock victim in the Final Nights series, Grim Chica is a primary antagonist in Final Nights 3, Nightmares Awoken. Unlike the others, she's not a Reaper animatronic, which is a good thing because Jesus Christ, those things are horrifying. But Grim Chica holds a strong appearance to the Springlock suit posters in the Night 3 cutscenes, but her faceplates are very hard to spot, and she's almost entirely purple. Purple, you know that, you know purple! The glowing accents inside of her resemble a human corpse, because of course it does. She lacks a bib. She's very slim, like Toy Chica, luckily, except for the hips, which appear to be much wider because, you know, she's got to give birth to those dummy thick Chica babies. And it's also revealed that Grim Chica is a Springlock in the museum level, saying, quote, a victim of a Springlock failure forever forced to haunt the suit she was wearing. I don't get it, man. Like, why? Why would you do this to Chica? I put this on the list instead of Grim Freddy because, well, I mean, like, it's Chica, okay? And look at what they did to my girl. Okay, well, look at how they massacred my girl Chica. Alright, it's rude. In at 4, Shadow Animatronics. One of the oldest theories is that the Shadow Animatronics are the first Springlock victims, and this comes to us after FNAF 3's phone guide dialogue that mentions multiple and simultaneous Springlock failures, which some interpreted as multiple Springlock suits failing at once instead of multiple Springlock mechanisms within one suit. So the line of multiple and simultaneous Springlock failures could mean either multiple of the Springlocks inside one suit failing at the same time, or more than one Springlock suit failing at the same time. This led some to theorize that previous employees were killed in the Springlock suits, which is where the Shadow Animatronics come from. This is supported by the fact that these are versions of Freddy and Bonnie, the two animatronics who do have Springlock suits, but I'm pretty sure this was disproven by Scott at some point, or at least he mentioned that it was wrong. Sorry, there are also multiple holes with the theory. But anyways, Shadow Animatronics still pretty cool. Getting close to the end into number 3, cliffhanger. I love stories. I love telling stories. I love hearing stories. I love reading stories. Most of my favorite stories involve time travel, but I also love TV. And one thing that TV is really good at is keeping you hooked with cliffhangers. The issue is, that only works for TV. When I'm playing a game, I don't want to be left on a cliffhanger and then not have it be resolved that same game. That just feels like it's a way to try and force me to buy the next game so I can see the conclusion of how that plays out. Freddy, though, definitely provides us with a couple cliffhangers that never get resolved in Security Breach no matter how hard you look. Most notably, I think, are There Is No Bunny in This Pizzaplex Not Anymore and You Look Different to Me. The first one, of course, being in reference to Bonnie after Monty seemingly smashed him, and while we may not have gotten a confirmed explanation, at the very least we got that one duffel bag that explains that it was most likely Monty's fault that Bonnie isn't here. However, that second one, You Look Different to Me, is what Freddy says after we install Roxy's eyes onto him. Okay, he says that we look different to him now, but then he never mentions that again since Moondrop decides to show up. Okay, I don't get it. Why? Why would you do this? It's mean, okay? I hate mysteries. They need to be solved. And the only explanation that makes sense is that Gregory is a robot, but there's like that we can't know, okay? God damn it, Freddy. Penultimately, in at number 2, staying until 6. Glamrock Freddy straight up encourages Gregory to risk his life in order to get out of the Pizzaplex, when in all honesty, the safest thing to do would just be to keep him in your stomach or in your green room until 6 AM, especially after the door had closed and he was definitely stuck. Okay, there was no need for this daycare secret escape hatch BS. Okay, you could have just gone back the way you came and everything would have been fine. You would have not been suspicious since you'd have at least appeared like you listened to Vanessa, then went back to your room after she told you to, and then Gregory would have been safe, especially after you knew that there was a crazy bunny bitch running around the Pizzaplex trying to slaughter him. So yeah, if Glamrock Freddy is possessed by Michael, he did a horrible job being a surrogate older brother or whatever the situation is, okay? That kind of hurts the whole he's there to protect Gregory because of the crying child thing. You can think of all the excuses for him that you want, okay? But if Gregory had just waited in Freddy's green room, everything would have been fine. Vanessa would have had no reason to check there since she didn't have at any point throughout the game, even when Freddy pops back up 5 minutes after being left in parts and service with his freaking head removed. Like, who else is going to put him back together aside from Gregory? Like, you could have simply let Gregory stay with you in your room or kept him in your cake hole in your chest until 6 AM because we can go into recharge stations with him. Okay, so why couldn't we just chill in his chest the whole time if it was actually that safe, okay? God damn it, I hate this series. And finally, in at number 1, selfish. This whole list is going to make so many people angry, but I think that this number especially is going to make those hardcore Freddy stans absolutely furious, and I think that's hilarious. Glamrock Freddy, no matter what way you slice it, is selfish. Some people assume that he's possessed by Michael Afton, okay? I just mentioned it, which, if it is true, that means that he's only protecting you because he feels bad and thinks that he caused his brother's death, which he partly did. Or, if he isn't possessed by Michael Afton, this Freddy is very loose with his so-called moral code. He tells you not to hurt his friends and that he doesn't want their upgrades, but then he takes them anyway. You could argue that it's in his programming because like we hit the button on the monitor or whatever, but it's also supposed to be in his programming to hunt us down. Obviously, he isn't really working through his normal specs, but nevertheless, after hearing about the brutal mutilation of his friends, he still lets you install these upgrades into his body and then doesn't bat an eye about how you got them or that, you know, his friends are in his body now. It's incredibly messed up when you really think about it, okay? Basically, in this game, Gregory is a black market organ harvester and dealer, but for animatronics. And Freddy doesn't care, because it gets him a cool new ability. Yeah, that's right, I said it.